फुल अरविंद आयत पत्र नेत्र येन तव्या भारत तैलपूर्णः प्रज्वलितो ज्ञान में प्रदीपः प्रपान्न पारी जाताये तोत्र वेत्र एक पानये ज्ञान मुद्राए कृष्णाय गीता अमृत दुहे नमः सर्वोपनिषदो गावो दोग्धा गोपाल नंदना पार्थो वत्सा सुधीर भोगता दुग्धम गीता अमृतम महत वसुदेव सुतम देवम कंस चानूरमर्दनम देवकी परमानंदम कृष्णम वंदे जगद्गुरुम भीष्म द्रोण तटा जयद्रथ जला गांधार नीलोत्पला शल्ये ग्राहवती कृपेन वहने कर्णेन वेलाकुला अश्वत्थाम विकर्ण घोर मकरा दुर्योधन अवर्तनी सोतीर्णा खलु पांडवै रन्नदी के वर्तका केशवा पाराशरे वत्सरोजमलम गीता अर्थगंधोटकम नानाख्यानक केसरम हरि कथा संबोधन अबोधितम लोके सज्जन षटपदे रह पे पिए मानम मुदा भूयात भारत पंकजम कलिमल प्रध्वंसी न श्रेयसे मूकम करोति वाचालम पंगुम लंघ्यते गिरिम यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानंद माधवम यम ब्रह्म वरुण इंद्र रुद्र मरुतः स्तुन्वन्ते दिव्यैस्तवे वेदे सांग पदक्रम उपनिषदै गायन्ति यम सामगा ध्यानवस्थे तद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यम योगिनो यस्यन्तं न विदुसुर असुरगणा देवाय तस्मै नमः. We are on chapter 18, Moksha Sanyas Yoga, and last Sunday we ended our class with verse number 45, where Lord Krishna is saying, devoted each to his own duty, person attains perfection. How engaged in his own duty he attains perfection? Listen. Okay, so to answer to this, so the fact is that our duty, doing that, we can attain perfection means attain the highest place, the goal of life we can attain. That is the promise Lord Krishna is making, and he says, listen carefully. How can we, devoted to our own duty, attain perfection? Let's start with verse number 46 today. Yataha pravriti bhutanam yen sarvam idam tatam swakarmanaha tam abhyacharya siddhim vindati manava. Yata, from whom? Pravriti, evolution. Bhutanam, of beings. Yen, by whom. Sarvam, all. Idam, this. Tatam, pervaded. Swakarmanaha, with his own duty. Tam means him, abhacharya, worshipping. Siddhim, perfection. Vindati, attains. Manava, a man, a human being. From whom is the evolution of all beings? By whom all this is pervaded? So what is he talking about? The God, Brahma, Paramatma. So from whom is the evolution of all beings? By whom all this is pervaded? Worshipping him with one's own duty, a person attains perfection. So first we got to know our duty, doing our duty, and our duty is according to our own swabhav and our own swadharma. Those are two things we need to know, and that's what we have been talking about for the last few weeks. Because a human being acts according to his swabhav, the nature, and according to the station in life, which is swadharma. So worshipping him really means surrendering to him, because worship means love also. And love really means, another name for love is surrender, surrendering unto him. So the spirit of total self-surrender. So in other words, by constantly remembering the higher goal towards which we are working out. And if we are, whatever we need to do it efficiently, what happens? Our vasanas get exhausted. Our impressions get washed away. So while doing the duty, we got to constantly remember God. That's why he says, he from whom all beings arise and by whom all this is pervaded. That is God. That's how a person becomes a yogi and a dynamic personality also. Our work, no matter what kind of a work it is, work can be changed into worship. How? By attuning our minds all through our activity to the consciousness of the self. Normally, what happens when we are doing the work? We are thinking about what we're going to get out of it. Our mind is dissipated. But if we can constantly stay aligned with that higher, that work becomes a worship no matter what work we are doing. There's no higher or lower work. So constantly conscious of the divine presence through the performance of our own duties, we can attain the highest perfection. That's how our inner personality get integrated. And with such an integrated personality, we definitely grow into meditation. We evolve. There is a powerful story illustrating this, that no duty is ugly or impure. It's given in Mahabharata. The name of this story is Vyad Gita. I have told you many times there's so many Gitas. There's a Vyad Gita. And it's worth remembering. This was told to Yudhishthir. You remember Yudhishthir is the eldest of the Pandavas by sage Markandeya. You have heard the Markandeya, sage Markandeya name too. There was a young sannyasi. He meditated, performed austerities for a long time. After years went by, and one day a crow's dropping fell upon him from the tree above. He looked up angrily, and the bird fell down. Just from his look, the bird burnt and fell down. He realized that, hey, I have attained the powers now. Just with my look, I can kill somebody. Pride came into him. Shortly thereafter, he went to a house to beg for the alms. The housewife came to the door and requested him to wait because she was taking care of her sick husband. So this person had to wait. But reading his mind while she said wait, he said, I'm not like a crow. I'm not a crow. He got surprised. I did not say anything. How come she knew that what I was thinking? Right away she said, you'll have to go to Mithila, to this righteous butcher who would answer your question. That how I read your mind, what you were thinking. So that sannyasi went to the butcher in Mithila. And this Vyad Gita in Mahabharata is the conversation between this sannyasi and the butcher. just to show that it's not the work, the kind of a work which we do, but where our mind is connected. That takes us towards the highest. Sometimes we think we need to change our profession. We don't need to change our profession. Whatever we are doing, keep doing it while keeping the mind connected. There's no higher or lower work, according to Lord Krishna. Okay, so that's the reason I wanted you to know this story. If you're interested, you can go to Mahabharata and read about this, the conversation between that butcher and that sannyasi. And the sannyasi became realized after that. Okay. So now, for further clarification, next verse. Shreyan swadharma viguna paradharmat swa anushtatat स्वभाव नियतम कर्म कुर्वन na apnoti kilibsham. Shreyan, better. Swadharma, one's own duty. Viguna, destitute of merits. Viguna. Paradharmat, then the duty of another. Somebody else's duty. Swa anushtat, then the well performed. Swabhav niyatam, ordained by his own nature. Karam is the action, kurvan, doing, na means not, apnoti, incurs, kalibsham, sin or a flaw, kalibsham. Better is one's own duty, though destitute of merit. Then the duty of another, well performed. He who does the duty ordained by his own nature incurs no sin. Because work in any field is ordered by our own vasanas. That's why he says it's better, because in that case, there is a chance for you to exhaust your vasanas, your impressions. When we are trying to do somebody else's duty, we change our work, then we are not washing our own vasanas. In fact, we are adding more vasanas. So better is one's own dharma, though imperfect. Imperfect means in the society it may not be considered a good job. Like that butcher's job. So that's why I said, better is one's own dharma, though imperfect, than the dharma of another's well performed. Swabhav niyatam karam. That is a very key word in here. So the individual has no chance of imprinting any new impressions on his mind when we are doing work according to our own swabhav. So there's no use employing our minds in fields which are contrary to our nature. We are making the whole area of our mind even muddier. There are old impressions, then we are adding more impressions to it. So everything has a purpose, not only the good, but the bad. In the society, look at the tree. Tree needs the roots also. Tree needs the fruits also. If there were no roots, there won't be any fruits. If somebody says, no, the fruits and the flowers are good, roots are in the mud. No, they have their own purpose. Okay, so just doing your own duties according to your own nature. Learn your nature. Sahajam karam kauntya sadosham api na tyajet sarv arambha hi doshen dhup main agni iv avrita. So further he is elaborating on that point. Sahajam, which is inborn. Sahajam. Karam is action. Kaunte Arjun. Sadosham, with fault. Api even. Na means not. Tyajet, one should abandon. Sarv arambha, all undertakings. He means for doshen, by evil, by flaw. Dhumen, by smoke. Agni, fire. Iv means like. Avrita, are covered. Avrit, enveloped. One should not abandon, O Arjun, the duty to which one is born. Though faulty, because he says, are not all undertakings enveloped by evil as fire by smoke? So it's like we got to think about it. That's why he puts this question over here for us. So after explaining this much about the Swabhav, the nature, and Swadharma, the station in life, Lord Krishna is building up an idea for a subtle climax over here. He is giving us this advice, which is meant for everybody, at all times, in all situations. Two words you got to remember over here in this verse. One is born with, sahajam. We are all born because of certain vasanas. It's almost like we have brought that baggage with us, born with. But then there is a environment we are born into. So two terms, born with and born into. So Lord Krishna is saying here that we should not renounce actions which are ordered by the vasanas born with. So this is like we have brought with us, but we should definitely be careful about the actions or the evil one which we are born into. Born into is the circumstances. Over there we have some control, but what we have brought in, we are here to clean that. So there are two factors that control and guide, define and determine our actions. The first one is the impulses brought forth by the pressure of the mental temperaments within. And that is what born with is, our own temperament. And the second one is the pressure of the environment, which really tickles new temptations. So the new temptations we got to control. All old dirt on the mirror, I need to clean. But the new dirt I should not keep on putting on. So this is which born with and born into is. So we have to follow faithfully the subjective vasanas, even if they are defective, that's what he's saying. But at the same time, we must renounce all the demands that objective world is making upon us. If I have a vasana, the impressions in my own chit to teach, sure, I need to wash that. But if somebody is singing beautifully or painting beautifully, I should not just get tempted and add that also now. Or even running a marathon, doing those kind of things. Outside, if I don't have any inclination, stop it there. Look within what this life is all about. Most of the time, we are not clear about these dynamics which are working. But a person who wants to reach there faster watches this. Okay? Only a spiritual seeker must constantly strive hard to stand apart from these shackling effects of the environment. That's why they say a yogi is a master of the circumstances. No matter what happens outside, he does not let it seep inside. He's a master. To the extent that he comes to assert this mastery, to that extent he is evolved. How do we know we are evolved? How much we can control ourselves under any circumstance. That's why he said all actions are clouded by defects, like fire by smoke. No work is, no action is free from defect. We cannot even breathe without killing millions of microbes. We know that. When we cultivate the land, we are destroying countless microorganisms. When we eat, we deprive another of a food. So there's no action is without defects. But the benefits of the Swadharam far outweighs the defect. Far outweighs. It provides a comfortable and a natural path for our purification and elevation. There is a question?
Yes, Urmilji. You have
Yes,
to unmute yourself. Unmute.
Harji, in real life, when the child is 18, 19, 20 years old and deciding on so-called what is his duty and what is his natural aptitude, he pretty much finds out the aptitude from school tests and knowing the person. But when it comes to direction to take, unfortunately, the family counselors and all do keep that in mind, but they are always directing them to more secure jobs financially and all. And does the girl or a boy at age 20, 21 really know what was the natural gift of innate duty versus what direction his desire took him to the profession, not medicine or arts or whatever. And this is especially so for those who are in music, journal writing and all professions that don't make a lot of money. And even those who want to go to be in the army, how do they decide all this?
Yeah. Average person cannot, but more evolved person will be able to. That's why there are some sannyasis, even in today's modern world. They did their education, then gave up everything, and then became sannyasis. They listened to their calling. Everybody is not aware of it. Most of the people, I would say majority of the population out there, or even the parents are also, they just want their children to be more financially secure. So unfortunately, that's how it is. But we are talking about the philosophy which really works no matter which era it is. So more evolved person will know. In between, they will not. Okay. So as parents, if we have kids under our supervision and we understand this, sure, we should guide our children based upon this. But if our kids are grown up now, gone, at least we should follow this now for the rest of our life. It's not only for the youngsters who are 18 and 20 and 25, it is for everybody. Because even at this age, we keep on adding more and more. We got to stop adding more vasanas. Okay, but definitely, Urmil, you are right. Clarity is not there because clarity is not in parents, clarity is not in the teachers, and these
Society.
society in general. And because this philosophy is not taught in the beginning, it should be. To me, I think it should be. Only then there will be clarity, because Gita philosophy doesn't say don't prosper. Gita philosophy says, sure, prosper outside also, but prosper inside also. You remember those two terms I always tell you? Abhyudaya, Nishreya. That is what Gita is. Outer prosperity and inner peace. That's what Gita teaches us. Okay, but there's another term I want you to remember in this, Sarv Arambha. Arambh, that means the beginning. But it really means he's not saying that don't start any work. What he's saying, that egocentric sense of self-arrogation, that I am the doer, work on that. Okay, the ego in us, that should be well controlled, well curtailed. Yes, Jyoti, looks like there is some other question.
Yes, Manju.
Yes, Manju.
Unmute yourself, Manju.
Yes, thank you. Okay, Hersh, you said the two words Abhyuday and Nishraya.
Nishreya.
I do not know
Abhyudaya
what.
means
Can you kindly?
outer prosperity. Abhyudaya.
How would you spell in English?
Abhyudaya, Abhyudaya. Abhyudaya. And Nishreya.
Uh-huh.
Okay,
And,
so you remember that Shreyas and Preyas? So Shrey, Nishreya.
okay.
N-I-S-H-R-E-Y-A.
Okay, so
Nishreya. That ultimate
okay, and the meaning would be
meaning will be ultimate peace, inner peace, outer prosperity and inner peace.
okay, and the first one.
Abhyudaya means outer prosperity.
Outer.
Abhyudaya is outer prosperity.
Thank you. I do
and
not
Nishreya
know.
is
Somehow
inner
I don't
peace.
remember this.
Yeah. Okay. So what he is trying to tell us in this verse.
So also
yeah.
one question.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. So about that butcher's story,
Mm-hmm.
I always wonder. I mean, so he's born as a boy in a family. Maybe the father was a butcher. Maybe,
Yes,
I don't know.
he was born.
Or
He
he
didn't
took a
know
job.
anything, but he was born as a butcher family because of certain old vasanas.
Okay.
You are sent into the household or into the environment where your old vasanas will get exhausted. That's the reason we are born through certain parents, to exhaust our old vasanas.
So, okay.
That's why Lord Krishna promised, keep on walking on this path of yoga. You'll be born in the household of a yogi, so that you can wash away your vasanas. But what happens is, then we are born into a certain circumstances also. If you are not careful, we just create more vasanas and make our life more complicated.
So, so while doing his job, you think he thought about what he's doing, or whatever? I mean, maybe it didn't disturb his mind at all, because
yeah, he was just doing it for the sake of doing it. For the sake of work, only for the sake of work. And then your mind is absorbed into the God. Otherwise, there could be a butcher who is enjoying hurting somebody. This butcher, or a vyad, they say it, vyad. Vyad is a person who is a hunter and a killer. So, but he kept thinking about God. And that's exactly what Lord Krishna is telling Arjuna. Wage this war, put your mind and intellect into me. He's telling Arjuna in the middle of the war the same thing. Why can't we do that?
Okay.
We are neither the hunters nor the warriors. Why can't we do even a simple yoga exercise and thinking about God? Why do we have to think about it? Am I losing weight or am I becoming more flexible?
Mm-hmm.
Our jobs are so simple where our mind can be fully absorbed. Don't worry about the complications of it. While we are cooking, why can't we think about God at that time? When we are praying, why can't we think about God? Let's go there at least.
Yeah.
So we got to
Okay.
ventilate our heart with the conscious divine. So more and more, with the name of the God, or with the feeling of the God, with the image of the God, and less ego. That's why he said, Sarv Arambha Parityagi. Don't just keep the ego out. Then no defects can pollute any action of ours. Because ego is the one which is polluting the action, not the action itself. That is the point he's making over here. Yes, Jyoti.
Usha. Usha Vasan has an.
Yeah, I had a question. You said, you mentioned that one should stay within one's own status and whatever level of society you're born into. Does that mean you can't really try to even go beyond it or learn more things, or you just have to just stay where you were born?
You can learn, definitely. He's not saying don't learn. And no, he's not talking about the status, but he's talking about basically what kind of inclinations you brought in.
But you can
The
try
main
to
thing
rise
is you got to
above that.
wash that. Our main job is to clean our chit. If you can do something without adding more into our chit, go ahead, do it. But most of the time, we add more baggage on our chit. So that's what we have to be careful about.
Because you can always try to rise above your status, above, try to get better,
See, he is saying no status is lower or higher.
but try to get better, maybe not
Try
higher.
to get better. Which way? Which way? He says, let go of the ego. According to Gita, that's better. Otherwise, a person could be president of the greatest country. But the ego, what did the ego do? The arrogance did. Job wasn't bad. Status wasn't bad. But the ego is the one. And that's what Lord Krishna is telling us more than 5,000 years ago. The ego.
I guess society is different now because when you look at the scheduled classes and all, it's like they're not allowed to rise above their class or get better and enter into another, or will that be in your next life?
No, this Vyad, we are not talking about the society right now. Vyad in the society more than 5,000 years ago. He got evolved. See, that's why I said that look at those two terms, Abhyudaya and Nishreya. The real evolvement is, can I get rid of all these shackles which are keeping me earthbound? It's not the status in the society we are talking about at all. Got to let go of this ego. Okay, so work definitely can be elevating, no matter what work it is, but it has to be done with a proper consciousness. That is the point Lord Krishna is making over here. Because we are just trained differently these days. We think that according to the work, we put the title. He's not talking like that. So it's like a load of the existing vasanas The impressions which we have brought in, we are here to wash those. And ultimate goal is to just become one with him. Whether we learn something here new or not, whether we do something new or not, doesn't even matter. If we can do it without adding more impressions, go ahead, do it. But the chances are we will add more vasanas on us because we are not careful. We don't know how to fly like the bird does without leaving the footprints. We just put too many footprints inside us. Okay? So then he says, he's telling us in the next verse, what is the benefit of acting according to the temperaments with which one is born with? Because that's what he said. Sahajam karam konte, what you are born with, if you are doing that, what are the benefits? Okay? Because we know if we do something else, just like Usha said, learn something new, what will happen? We are complicating our life, complicating our mind also. More burden. That's why average person is very stressed. They cannot even sit still. They cannot even enjoy what they have. That's why they have to take medications. To sleep also, to get up also, to go to work also, to digest food also, to bring the blood pressure down also, to bring the cholesterol down also. We have put in too much pressure on this beautiful temple of ours. So Lord Krishna is saying, hey, these are the benefits. If you pay attention to this philosophy and live a life based on this. He says, asakt buddhi sarvatra, jitatma vigat supriha, nash karmye siddhim parmam, sanyasen adhigachati. Asakt buddhi, whose intellect is unattached. Asakt. Sarvatra, everywhere. Jitatma, who has subdued himself. Vigat supriha, whose desires have fled. Nash karmya siddhim, the perfection consisting in freedom from actions. So in other words, a state of actionlessness. Okay, that doesn't mean a person is not doing any action, but the state of the mind is actionlessness. Paramam, the supreme. Sanyasen, through renunciation, adhigachati, he attains. He whose intellect is unattached everywhere. And we'll definitely look at each and every one of them in detail. But right now, just see what the literal translation of this verse is. He whose intellect is unattached everywhere. Who has subdued his self? This is a lower self, the ego he's talking about. From whom desire has fled. He, through renunciation, attains the supreme state of freedom from action. So then there's a continuation of this verse in the next couple of verses also. But let's look at what he's telling us in this verse. You've got to remember that entire Gita is addressed to Prince Arjuna, who was standing confused in the middle of his duty. He wants to run away into the jungles. Because he said earlier, if you think that meditation is better, why you're asking me to do something like this? So that's why Lord Krishna's thesis in entire Gita is that mere running away from your duties is not sannyas. Doing the duties properly as a yogi, you can become a sannyasi. That's what he's teaching us. So over here, one word is state of actionlessness. Nash karmya siddhi. When we do not identify ourselves with the equipments which have been given to us. And what are the equipments? This body, this mind, this intellect. When we don't identify with that, and we start to identify ourselves with the Supreme, and we do not forget our spiritual dignity, and we do not misconceive that we are the ego, and just do what need to be done, that is a Nash Karme Siddhi. So you are still doing what needs to be done, but you don't identify yourself with the equipments. Another term for the equipment is what? Upadhis. The body, mind, intellect, all that. Because ego arises when we forget our real nature. It's like a ignorant person is very forgetful about the spiritual nature, and ego erupts. We are not the body, but we think that we have a beautiful body or not so beautiful body. That's the ego. So Nash Karme Siddhi means ego is not there. Then he says desires are absent. What do the desires do? The thoughts keep on breeding inside endlessly. Endlessly. So that means the desires have dried up. Because what are the desires? Desires are the children of ignorance. More ignorant we are, more desires we will have. Thought arises from desires. And actions are thoughts expressed in the outer world. So that's how the ignorance, desires, thoughts, and actions. So ignorance is the great grandfather of the action. So without even thinking it through, we just think that, I want to do this, I want to do that. We are creating more and more web of these desires and the vasanas for ourselves. But Lord Krishna says, with the knowledge of the spirit, the knowledge of the soul, ignorance ends. Ignorance ends. And that state, thoughts and actions cannot be, even though you are acting, but thoughts are not yours. And that is a Nash Karme Siddhi. Sometimes you will see this term actionlessness or thoughtlessness or desirelessness. It's the same thing. It's like a full awakening. Okay. I know we have gone over the time. So I would like you to study this a little bit more this week, and we'll pick up from here next week. There's a lot to talk about in this Asakt Buddhi Sarvatra also. I want you to understand that term. And Jitatma, Vigat Sapriha, all these terms. I would say these next few verses, the whole Gita has been summarized again for us. Even the Lord Krishna talked about earlier, but now with a different kind of a coloring to it, so that we can understand it better. Because before we bring it into our actions, we got to understand it. We got to see, is it really important or not? So just like your questions were, Urmil, Usha, Manju's questions, very good questions actually, because we got to ultimately know how to bring this into our life. If I'm doing something, am I following Gita or not? Or is it bad? We got to have a clarity about it. One thing we learned today, there's no work is higher or lower. Every action is just action. Okay? And goal is the same, whether it's today or whether it was thousands of years ago. Goal never changed. Okay, just think it through. Have questions. So next week, maybe we can start the class with some questions. But we'll just stop it here. Jyoti, you have a question?
Just a couple of questions. Rita, and then
Yes, Rita.
Rita unmute.
Like you said, Hershji, it's okay to be outwardly prosperous, but stay peaceful. So when we are outwardly prosperous, we are always planning to do more and more and more. And that gives you a little bit, affliction of the mind. Like if suppose, for example, you're selling, suppose, wizard. So to be more prosperous, you have to sell more. So you have to.
There's nothing wrong in selling more, but remembering, keeping the whole picture. Who are you? Where are you going? That's why they said all the time, maybe you cannot do that. While selling, you cannot do it. But start your day with meditation, with prayers.
Yeah, because
every hour, think about God.
Yeah, because while
spend some time, always make sure that you give out also. Do some seva also. Have a well-programmed life. Then you will see that where the real peace is coming from, where the real happiness is coming from. Nobody says that right away jump up. Start the baby steps. Okay, there's nothing wrong in selling, there's nothing wrong in reading, there's nothing wrong in helping, there's nothing wrong in singing, dancing, nothing wrong anywhere. But make sure that don't do all of that and forget who you are. Okay, that's all he's saying. Okay, so abhidya, nishriya, that is the message from Gita. Okay, yes, who else has a question?
Sujata?
Hershji, so it sounds like, obviously Krishna is addressing Arjuna, who is he's in the prime of his life. He's not talking to the child Arjuna, he's talking to the adult person. But from his discussion, it seemed he has said nothing about, or he hasn't said much about what we should be asking ourselves to do as children or young adults. But would you agree, or?
No, to me, I think this is message for everybody. Whoever can absorb it. Right. Some even elderly people cannot understand it.
Okay.
And some kids can understand it.
Right.
It all depends how much we can absorb and understand. It's not for a child. For a child, it's the same thing. For adult also, for old people also. This is a philosophy for human beings.
But wouldn't you say that to realize what your inclination is, you have to be able to explore and reflect?
Yeah, you got to explore, but that's why we have the parents. That's why the society is built like this. The parents, if parents know this, they can guide the children much better. The problem these days is parents don't know. They don't know themselves, and they are misguiding the children. Okay, and then what happens is when a child has a guru, then guru guides further. But these days we don't even like that guru word. It's a 4-letter word for us. That is another problem, because we really don't know how to surrender. Okay, otherwise this Gita philosophy is for a 5-year-old also, for a 50-year-old also, and a 100-year-old also. It's not just for Arjun, it's not just for adults. But how we can teach little kids? Only if the parents know. Okay.
And if the 5-year-old is getting it all, it's because the sadhana has been there from the previous
the past lives. Yes. Yes. And I have met many, many young kids. They get it.
Yeah.
But later on, I have seen them getting lost into this world also.
Right.
Because the proper guidance wasn't there by the parents at home, and they got lost into the circumstances.
Or the circumstances were too powerful. I mean, in spite of guidance.
Yes, powerful. And yeah, then that means we got to make ourselves equally powerful, so that we can take these circumstances. So it's, but just to answer your question, Sujata, this is not just for grown-ups.
Okay.
This is for everybody. This is, see, theories can be changed. Law doesn't change. Fire can burn a 5-year-old also. Fire will burn a 90-year-old also. Okay, this is a law. For everybody, whether somebody is a Hindu or not, doesn't matter. Whether it's a male or female or doesn't matter. This is true for all of us. Okay, so that's what my take is on this.
So you need your guru and your parents and your guru to find out what your swadharma and your.
Yes, definitely. You need a guru. Yes, we definitely need a guru. Guru guides us. Guru even, sometimes we don't have to talk to a guru. We can just feel the presence of the guru inside and the clarity comes. But we got to be aware of it. We got to be ready to accept that. Do what guru says. Clarity comes.
So for those who are born without this instinct, they've got the odds pitted against them.
Yeah, because the vasanas are, if the vasanas are different, sure, the odds are against, but that doesn't mean that this is a hopeless situation. We are all moving towards where we have come from. It might take a little longer, but ultimately, this philosophy does not say anywhere that certain people, they are just forever, they're going to be in a purgatory. No, we all are going where we came from. The route could be a little longer, and that is what we decide. That freedom Lord has given it to us. God has given it to us. And we can make that firm decision anytime. Anytime. It's never too late. Okay. So if no question, then I think many, are you singing today? Good questions, good conversation. I think that's how clarity comes, because sometimes some people ask, others don't ask, but I think it's good to think about it, because Gita is ultimately how we bring into our life. But we can bring into our life only when we understand it. Intellectually, we need to understand it first, okay? So that's the purpose of these classes. But thank you very much. Okay, Manny. I think before Manny sings, let me do the Shanti part, and then Manny can sing. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Visheshyate Om Shanti 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 Om. Okay, Manny. Thank you.
To